once again. Thank you for joining us. This is Nuance, and I'm Mike Scala, joined as always by Jay Carter, also known as Timid, the hip hop MC and the chair of BLM Tokyo. What's going on, Jay?
Not much, man. Same old, chilling. Just finished getting some food. You know how it is, spending family time. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, it's always good to spend time with the family around the holidays, especially, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. So, it's been 3 years since I've been back in the States. So,
Wow.
Time.
Well, we are joined by a very special guest this week. We have Aleeia Abraham of the BlaQue Resource Network. What's going on, Aleeia?
Yeah, hi everybody. Looking forward to the discussion today.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing about what you what you do and the BlaQue Resource Network. I looked over some of the stuff, and it looks like you're doing some good work. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I like to say we are doing some work out here in Queens. The name of the group is BlaQue Resource Network, so that's BLA for Black, QUE for Queens. We're Queens based. So we're a space for Black people in Queens to network and share resources through health and wellness, education, civic engagement, but we're probably most popular for our small business support. And what that looks like is just reconditioning the minds of Black people to shop Black and encouraging them and reminding them why it's important and helping them get connected to the Black businesses that they need. So that's kind of what we do day to day. And we do a lot of events as well, some entertainment, some educational, again, with the small business. And that's it. We primarily communicate through our Facebook group, but we're offline as well. You can see us wearing our gear. I'm not wearing our gear right now. I'm wearing somebody else's gear. I'm wearing Essential Kitchen gear with the businesses in our group. I feel like my face is BlaQue Resource Network, so I don't have to wear the shirt so much. Yeah, that's who we are. I'm looking forward to just discussing today about, a little more specifically about what we do and how we help anybody that's watching. And, we take help as well. Absolutely.
Sounds good. So I'd like to start off with something on the lighter side to give people some time to join us and so we'll get into a bigger discussion in a bit. But I was actually browsing social media recently and I found a discussion about jobs that reminded me of a song that you and I did together, Jay, Inferno. We did a video for it and everything, but your verse in particular in the song talks about a guy going to work and kind of being in that grind, and you break down the hours, how you're there for 8 hours, but of course it's not just the 8 hours, it's the time getting to and from work, then it's the time getting ready for work and all the things that go into it, getting ready for the next day, and you kind of break it down in a 24-hour day, but how much of that is spent on the job essentially, and then how much time do you have for yourself?
Yeah, it was like 18 hours that you're putting to basically getting to and from work and working. So you're giving that away and you're only left with 6 hours personally for yourself. And so it's kind of it's not really a good work-life balance.
And you got to sleep, you got to eat. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. When do you have time to just do what you want?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is rough. And you see this a lot, at least I do, from people who finish school and they're working and it just kind of hits them like this is reality now, and they're like, this seems like a scam or just a bad situation to be in, like this can't be life. I see that sentiment all the time, like this is what my life, this is what existence is, and it makes a lot of people depressed. I think
a lot of the younger generation is really questioning that now. A lot not the present generation, but the one before that, just kind of like, that's what it is. That's just how it is. But the ones today are like, wait a minute, this ain't right. We don't want no parts of this. And so, who knows? Maybe some change will come out of that.
Right. And I do think post-pandemic, especially, the work from home atmosphere really is becoming a lot more prevalent, even on a permanent basis. And I do think that makes a big difference because that commute is really oftentimes such a big part of your grind, especially if you're coming from far away. Like we talked about in South Queens, having to commute to Manhattan, for example, it could be hell. So if you're able to work from home, I do think that takes a significant amount of pressure off.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, remember when I first moved up to New York and was staying out in Long Island with y'all, it was like, it was like a 30-minute walk to the train. Then it was like another 45 minutes or something like that on the train. And then another transfer trains, and then there was another 10-minute walk and a 10-minute ride, and it was like commuting was like 2.5 hours or something like that. It was crazy. So
Right.
but losing, you know.
Yeah. And the whole idea is you're giving time to someone else. If you're working a job that you don't like and you're just doing it for a paycheck. And so people will say the secret is do what you love. Obviously, that's much easier said than done. And like we were saying before we came on, that could even sound dismissive to people who can't do that. I mean, maybe they love doing something, but that doesn't pay the bills.
Right. And it's been a long-standing fact that the majority of people that went to college for something are not working in the field that their degree is in. So, I mean, you think you went to college for something, so it's something you chose to study, so something you were interested in. And then you come out and you've got this degree and you got these qualifications and you can't even work, or you're not even working in that field. And so that idea of do something you love just really doesn't match up with reality. And you can jump in here if you like, Aleeia.
I do.
Sorry.
I think when it takes up so much of your day, I think you have to do both, right? Some people cannot just do what they love and make money from it, but you still should have enough time in your day to do what you love, even if it's separate than how you make your money, because you'll know, well, this is just a means to pay my bills. I still have something that you love. It's when you're just an unhappy person because you're not doing anything all day that you love is when there's a problem.
Right. And I think, like I said, people have this, or we've heard this advice from everywhere, everybody that says, oh, find something you love, you never work a day in your life. I think to me, it's probably a little bit more realistic. I mean, it's something to aspire to, of course, if you can find something you love and turn that into something that's going to be able to feed you and your family, that's best case scenario. But if you can't, I tell people, and I've said before, is to try to find moments of peace. Try to find things that will distance yourself from that stuff that's really weighing you down. You know, like, you know, for you, Mike, for example, you do a lot of work and you enjoy what you do, but you also take time out and do some music because that's part of your creative side. It's something that you love. And if we can find that can go a long way to help us, that work-life balance, that mental health balance.
Right. Yeah, I also think in today's world, it's easier. I don't know if easier is the right word. Maybe it's less difficult to be entrepreneurial. And it's kind of like we're in the gig economy now. So everyone kind of is hustling and trying to do something for themselves. Maybe it's a slow grind. Maybe not everyone can fully get there to the point where they are 100% sufficient working for themselves. But you're seeing more and more of that now. I think the opportunities now are more than they used to be in that regard. Part of it might be because, like you mentioned, the younger generation just ain't having it. And they're saying, look, we need a better way.
I really think even with this push that everybody should be an entrepreneur, I know how to cook. I love cooking. I open a restaurant and I'm doing no cooking. I'm ordering food and I'm trying to figure out how to do business taxes and I'm trying to stay open and I'm sweeping and I'm not doing the food part at all. You still have to find space in your life to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way because you're in that industry. You think this is what it is, that you're going to be happy. You have to figure out specifically what makes you happy and find time to do that.
And then even if they say you do like to cook, like I enjoy cooking, but I don't know if I want to make the same thing every day all the time. If I want to, right? Exactly. Once you turn it into the job, it's like it becomes something different.
There's an obligation there. There's still an obligation, and it's not always going to be pleasant. It's not always going to feel like a hobby, right? You can turn your hobby and your passion into a career, but then there's still going to be that career part of it that you're not always going to want to deal with on a day-by-day basis. You might want time off that you can't give yourself because you're too busy, whatever the case is. So it is always going to be that grind. But I do think people overall are happier when they're doing things that they enjoy doing because philosophically, they don't feel like they're just working for someone else. They feel like it is their job. That's how I feel in my job. Like I practice law and I practice election law and I like doing things in law that I have a passion for. I can go to court and deliver for my client and that makes me feel good. Yes, I'm still working for a client and I'm still working a job and there's certain things about it that are unpleasant sometimes, but I'm still doing what I love and delivering results that I like to deliver and feeling like there's a purpose to what I'm doing. And I think that might be the key, finding that purpose for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think we're getting some feedback as well. James in chat, is someone listening to something in the background? Might be getting some feedback on it. I think, I don't know if it's me or when I'm not speaking, I think I'm gonna mute my mic just to see if that's picking it up. But I think it's a good point. I think, even yeah, it's just like you said, I think it was Aleeia said there's still like that obligation there for things that you love. But again, if it is something you really love, then you know, then yeah, it's a great option. But I don't see how realistic for everyone it is.
It's something to strive to. It's aspirational, I think, or try to at least find more purpose in your life, however that looks. Everyone's situation is different. We can't say everyone could do the same thing. I mean, people are in different situations in life. So some people are more fortunate than others also. But I know for me, I thank God every day that I don't have to go to some office and work for someone that I don't want to work for. I'm happy I can work from home or just be on my own time, make my own schedule. To me, that's a real privilege, and I'm blessed to be able to live that way.
Yeah, yeah, and that's in lieu of being able to do that, it's good to find time for your personal interests, for things that you're really into, things that make you happy, things that connect you or distance you from whatever is stressing you out. So
Yeah. I mean, do we need to rethink our entire
yes,
work system and come up with something brand new?
yes.
And how would that look? What would we do?
Yeah, shorten our work weeks. Because I think about a lot of times, people are spinning their wheels in offices and whatnot. This need to be always on. We just seen with Elon Musk taking over Twitter. He wants the people to sleep in the building sometimes. Like, no, this is work. This is not their life. Yeah, we need to rethink a lot of things that we're doing. I know, for example, in Japan, there's a common I don't know if I'd say it's a custom or part of the culture that some people will stay in the office even long after they're done working, because it's kind of seen as a bad look if you leave before the manager, even if your work day is done and your work is done. So people will sit in the office and do nothing, pretend like they're doing something every day because the manager hasn't left yet. And so it's like,
I'm gonna have to become the manager then.
so it's like, what are we doing? You gotta,
yeah. And I've always thought that we should really look at the results more than the time. I think we've been so focused on time, like 8 hours a day, 9 hours, 10 hours, punching the clock, instead of the productivity. And in fact, I think you'll find productivity can increase if you treat people better and maybe give them more time off.
I think your studies have shown that repeatedly.
Yeah.
I mean, Europe has a much looser work model than the States.
Right. And then you have people who say they make all this money. My salary is tremendous, but how many hours are they putting in to get that? It's the equivalent of maybe 3 minimum wage jobs, 4 minimum wage jobs.
And are they happy? Are they happy? Is more money mean happier? Will you take less money to be happier? And I think there was a study talking about that. It's somewhere around $75,000 to $100,000 that's it. Anything beyond that, you're not necessarily happier. You make more money, but you're not happier. And I think that's important too, that we all believe that, when I'm rich, I'm gonna be happy. But no, that's not the truth. When you do what you love, you're happy.
Right. When you have that purpose.
I would like to test that.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're the guinea pig.
Yes. Yeah. We hear that a lot.
Somewhere around $100,000.
I would like to test that. Thank you very much, please.
Well, Jay, but that was a discussion we had a few weeks ago where I asked you, would you take the $10 million or fix mistakes in your life? You said the mistakes, which surprised me because I would take the 10 million.
Yeah. But I think it's a little bit different in time, versus material at that point. Because you're talking about going into the past and doing different things, and there's a lot of different variables. This is just more, if I'm making more than 70 a year now, like, would I be happier? I don't know, but I'd like to try that. You know,
Yeah.
if
I mean,
I'm making-
I just look at it
Okay.
like with that kind of money, I could fix a lot of stuff, not just in my life,
Exactly.
in the
And
world.
see, that to me would make what I would enjoy. You know, if money were no issue, a lot of things that I would do would end up being just collaborating with people and doing projects or doing helpful things, or just types of things. And so with that kind of money, you don't have that burden or that worry of rent and
Yeah.
bills and all
Financial
that.
freedom.
Right. You've got, and it's not just financial freedom, you've got life freedom.
Yeah,
Do what
absolutely.
you will, you know. So say your friend is doing something in, I don't know, they're in Miami and they're working on a project, they need help. Okay, I'm come down there and help you out. I got the time, I got the effort, I got the skills. I want to be of service to you, you know, that type of thing. Hey, Lixa, see Lixa in the chat popping in.
Yeah, everyone, thank you for joining us. So I want to get to Aleeia and the work that not just she's doing, but everyone is doing, because you said it's a plural thing, right? It's we, not I.
Yeah.
So the BlaQue Resource Network, can you tell us a bit about how that came about, when and how did that start?
All right, so it's been about 3 years. It started in 2019 in August. How did it start? You know, there's many versions of the story. It really, there was no thought specifically put into it. It was just another idea that I had, and I did it. Right, that's the type of person that I am. It's, if I think of something, I want to do it to a fault sometimes, but that's kind of what it is. And I collected a couple friends together. I think my friend Dane and I talked about it well before that. Oh, there needs to be a way to get information of Jamaica Avenue. I think we're going to call it Jamaica Avenues. And you know, we talked about that, but nothing happened. And after a while, I was like, hey, we didn't do anything with this. And then I decided to make it a Facebook group, and it kind of just took off from there. It wasn't something that took a long time to catch on because there was a need. And that's where we are. We're 3 years old, August 2019.
Excellent.
Happy
And
birthday.
so you said obviously a primary focus is to put information out there on local Black businesses in Queens. And
Well,
how people can support them.
local anything in Queens that apply to Black business, but for whatever reason, Black people in communities, but for whatever reason, Black businesses really just, that wasn't intentional. It happened naturally that became our most successful outreach.
Okay. And aside from that,
We do elections, we do education, we do health and wellness, we do financial literacy, we do fun, lighthearted things.
right. So it's not just the resources on the Facebook page. You guys are actually out there in the community doing the work.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what kind of programming are you involved in right now? Anything coming up or anything you're going to do?
Well, I think we're really on the education. We have an education conference coming up for Black History Month. I think that's what we're working on now. Something on the fun side, we're doing a New Year's Eve party for the little kids, and they're going to dress up in their suits and their dresses and do the red carpet and kind of things like that, give them that experience. And we have Black Community Cares now, so we're going to do our fundraiser gala next May. So that's kind of some of the things we're focused on right now.
Okay.
It sounds like some good projects.
They're okay. Take a lot. I love them.
They're okay. You're supposed to say, nah, they're awesome. They're great.
They're awesome. I enjoy my work. I want to say that just to piggyback off of what we were speaking.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like a great example of even when you're doing something that you love and you have a passion for, there's still those moments where you're like, this is all right.
It's like, it's still work, right? But I do love doing the work that I do in the BlaQue Resource Network, and I am happy just to be highlighted on programs like this, and just help me get the word out so more people can join and we can be bigger and reach further. And so thank you guys for doing shows like this.
Yeah, no, of course. And definitely wanted to reach out to you and have you on here because we like to put a spotlight on local leaders and people doing great things around our communities. And, we like to put a focus on South Queens in particular. So thank you. How can people join BlaQue Resource Network on Facebook?
Be a Black person connected to Queens somehow, whether you work there, you go to church there, you have family there, you used to live there, you currently live there, just press join. You can also shoot me an email at blaqueresourcenetwork@gmail.com, BLAQUE. And I can send you the link, or you can be on our mailing list. If you're not on Facebook, you can join us on Instagram. You can join us on Twitter. You can do any of those things. We are going to start some hand-to-hand outreach, because we have an older population that's not on social media as much as they'd like to be. And they still open the circulars, right? They still open that, that bag that comes in your step with. They still use it, right? Yeah. So we want to make sure we're not missing out on that population, because they vote, they're still part of the community, and they still run the community. There's a lot of things happening that we don't know about. So I want to make sure we're in touch with them as well.
Yeah, I always tell people, especially when you look at Southeast Queens and the way people vote.
Yes.
A lot of people are misinformed. They think that social media is everything, but the voting population tends to be quite old. I mean, sometimes 65 and up is like almost
100%. I've worked on quite a few campaigns in Southeast Queens, and 100%. Young people are very loud. They'll help carry your message, but they don't show up on election day.
Right.
It's the triple prime, meaning the people who have voted in the last 3 elections are usually concentrate on, and they're almost always over 65.
Yeah. I mean, I stood outside of school in Springfield Gardens handing out literature, and you can see, I mean, it's almost all senior citizens voting.
Almost all. You'll get some, I think business owners are another group that vote a lot. So that'd be maybe second, and then you'll get some 30s. That's not even really young. But yeah. So if you really want to hit the entire community, you have to keep the older generation involved.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying that was a good point that you made, that young people are loud, and they're the ones who can often carry the message.
Yes.
And so we need more young people involved, and we want more young people voting. But also, as a campaign, if you're going to run a campaign,
where did I go? You can't have any movement without younger people and older.
Right.
You
Exactly.
always have to have everybody.
You have the mix of both. And you're going to have the young people the energy to knock on the doors and make the calls.
Get them.
Right.
They have new ideas and things we weren't thinking about. They have to be involved. They're next up, so they need to know. We have a lot of volunteers at 16 years old. They can't even vote yet, but they're out here. Whoever their candidate is, they're very passionate about it. They are holding up those signs. They are at the polls. We definitely need them. And we have a younger group in the BlaQue Resource Network as well that we want to transition into, whatever is next for us. So.
Even if they're too young to do other things, being involved will pay off when they are old enough to get in the mix.
They have to be a part of it. My son is 9. I bring him to everything. He doesn't know what's going on, or maybe he does. I'm underestimating him, but he'll always remember. He'll always look back and say, "Oh yeah, I remember my mom used to take me to food shares to give out food in the community." Or my mom used to take me to vote. My mom I used to wear a little future voter sticker. Or whatever that is. I think those memories are important, because we all remember being, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things that parents taught us.
And you mentioned a bunch of different. You said you guys are involved in the community stuff and voting stuff and health and wellness. What's the biggest gap you're seeing that needs to be addressed among the different things that you guys? The
large question. The two that we're probably working on. It's education, getting our those scores up, and small business, and moving micro businesses into full businesses, scaling businesses, and taking the ideas of people who just have awesome ideas, like, wow, we really need that in the community, and figuring out how to get them the support and the funding. We have some businesses in our group that will say, wow, I started with you guys in 2019. I started during the pandemic. And now because of your group, I'm making $150,000 a year, $100,000 a year, just from people in your group, just from directing customers to me. So I often wonder where that 150, and this is like 1 business, 2 business, 3 business, 4, these are not collective. These are individual businesses. I often wonder where that money would have gone if we didn't have the BlaQue Resource Network. And I need to do some surveying in our group to just find out like how the businesses are doing, just how they're communicating, who's reaching out to them, how do you know it's from our group, so we can do more, right? So we can get a good handful of businesses making that. I don't know what the others are making. Some don't say anything, right? I just see the people in the street and they're like, that makes us do it. Like, okay, hi. but I do want to be able to measure a little bit more, so I am able to solve problems like small businesses. Because if small businesses make money, we all make money. It just strengthens the American economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would speculate, and I think it's one of the things and that's talked about a lot, especially within the Black community. Like that money, you're wondering where that 150 would have gone. It would have gone outside of the community.
Sure.
It would have gone to, things that doesn't necessarily give directly back to the community. And I think, and I don't know specific numbers here, but I think the so-called Black dollar goes out a lot faster than some other communities.
A little time and then it's gone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so like other communities the dollar goes around in their community a little bit more before it goes out to other areas. So, I mean, I think it sounds like something that's excellent and it's sorely needed. And it sounds like it's, being very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also relates, by the way, to things like MWBE programs, which I worked on in Albany. I think a group like the BlaQue Resource Network could be very helpful in lobbying for legislations. Not, you don't have to support candidates if you want to be a nonprofit and that kind of thing, but you can certainly get behind the ideas, the legislation, the programs that are needed, and change the laws. I mean, the state was doing better than the city was when it came to its MWBE procurement levels. The city needs to catch up.
Yeah.
So a group like this can step in and really put people's feet to the fire and say, hey, let's do better.
I agree that there are a lot of legislation that is a part of this. It's not only get money to businesses, it's so much bigger than that. There are other things, right? I talked about, it is get money, right? We need money. We need Black financial institutions to get Black businesses money. We need to recondition the minds of everyone to shop Black, because right now it's only Black people shopping Black, but everybody else is shopping everything else, right? So we need to do that. And we need the laws to change and figure out these systematic barriers that are stopping Black businesses from growing.
I think it's also important to say what you said there as far as getting other people to also shop Black. Like when people say, buy Black, like you said, it's usually it's Black people to buy Black. But
that's the only people they're talking to.
Black, right. Black, everyone else should also look at Black businesses as a destination as well.
Yes, absolutely. If they are good businesses with quality goods and what you need, shop there. But they're not thinking about that at all. How do we get that? Black business cannot only be for Black people.
Absolutely. And I think that is a deeper problem. That's definitely something that's not just a local, it's a national problem. And I think it's a global problem.
Yeah, I think it's a global
because there's certain images and the way that Black people are looked at and valued worldwide. And so it is something that to work on. Now in the chat, Lixa said with the holidays, is there any business you would want to highlight, kind of like Oprah does?
I was supposed to put that list together and I didn't, but let me think now. Businesses that I would like to highlight. Yes, I started a list.
Uh-oh, she's got a list.
I did, and I meant to do it officially, and I did not.
You know when she said that, the first thing that popped into my mind was that Eminem lyric. I got a list. Here's the order on my list. Goes Reggie, Jason.
Yeah, I was gonna say the top of her list is gonna be Reggie.
Yeah. Right.
Shop at Reggie's.
Yeah. First thing you do is go buy some Redman albums. That's what you're obligated to do.
Hey, Redman is doing some politicking lately. He was at Black Caucus weekend giving a press conference with Senator Sanders.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. He got up there and said, "I am Reggie Noble." And, he was just himself. He wasn't Redman. He was Reggie.
Yeah.
Where's my list?
It's good.
There is a luxury bag brand from Queens that I really want to highlight. Go ahead, hit me to the next question. I'll find it by then. I can do two things. Go ahead.
It sounds like you've got, you're getting good participation within your network, and you said this is within Queens, right?
Yes.
So all of Queens, Southeast Queens?
All of Queens. I mean, naturally, it's going to be mostly Southeast Queens. It's just more Black people there. But we do have reach in Queensbridge and Far Rockaway and East Elmhurst.
Yeah, no, I like that. The Black BLAQUE with capital Q. So that's the Queens.
Yes.
In there.
Black Queens. I like it too. Yeah.
Latoya in the chat says, looking forward to the gala.
Ask Latoya knows the bag brand.
Come on, Latoya.
I just texted her. She's gonna tell me.
Okay.
That's what's up.
But
But
I want that gold
that's
bag
really
for
good.
myself. There's a bag that I want for them, and good. I'm glad you brought this up because now I can shoot this to my husband.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. So we're waiting on Latoya for
Yeah, she'll come through.
All right.
yeah.
Well, in the meantime, I guess we have the juxtaposition between keeping it real and whatever George Santos is doing.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And so for I guess if people aren't aware, George Santos was just elected Congress, right?
Right. And it was a Democratic held seat. It was supposed to seat that Tom Suozzi held, was a Democrat. Of course, he ran for governor, so he gave up his congressional seat, and the Republicans did flip it. So when we look at the midterms and how Republicans narrowly took the House, this seat was one of the reasons why. I mean, New York and California saw a significant amount, comparatively speaking, of Republicans taking over Democratic seats. So this was one of them. And now, Jay, what do we find out? The New York Times did a big expose on this.
Right. I just muted you getting the feedback? I was muting my mic while you're speaking. Let's see if we can. Well, yeah, New York Times did this. Ray in the chat said Telfar, Queens owner. I don't know that.
Yes, Telfar is huge now. They just did a lot of collaborations. They're in like Nordstrom now, but he is a Black designer from Queens, and now he is a great one to support for the holidays. I'd love to get him to join the group. I need to make that a wish list.
There you go. That's good.
All right. So yeah, the George Santos, they found the New York Times this expose, and so he was just elected, and he hasn't taken office yet, but he listed that he graduated from NYU and Baruch College. However, both of the schools have no record of him ever going there. He said that he worked for places like Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. Both of them said they have no record of his employment at either of those places. And he had made financial disclosures of like $750 million this year and last year for an organization that they did research and found that the business is temporarily inactive. And that he also claimed to run a charity called Friends of Pets United, but the IRS has no record of any such organization in the databases. And I did see on the news, I think it was NBC or CBS or something, that there's also some unresolved criminal charges in Brazil. So, you know, he got elected saying these certain things, representing himself a certain way with a certain resume, and it all seems to be untrue.
Yeah, and so the big question, I guess, is how does this happen? And how is it only now coming out? I know that his opponent was saying that they had uncovered some of it before and raised it during the campaign, but it didn't seem like it really broke. And maybe part of the problem was he was just a candidate. I don't know how people saw his chances. Maybe they thought he wasn't necessarily going to win or whatever, but he wasn't the congressman-elect yet. So maybe they thought it wasn't breaking news to uncover his story. But if he's representing all these things about himself and they're all not true, I mean, this looks like not just one or two minor details. This was like a lot. He not embellished, should have lied about his resume. Why did this not come out before?
From what I read, it seemed like some of it came out, but I guess it didn't get a lot of traction. From what I read, he's an ultra mega type of guy, and I guess so the support. I mean, we know the support on that side is very strong, very fanatical. So you know, that could be what pushed him in. I mean, you know.
I have a question. So his resume, that's where all of this was. Is what did he say on the campaign trail though? Like that was public, because his resume might not have been.
Well, this was stuff that was on his website. These were things that came out in interviews that he did. This
was beyond his resume. This is just.
Yeah, it wasn't just like piece of paper. No, this is things that he represented.
Yeah.
His background, his history, yeah.
Right. And so, to me, So his response is that, oh yeah, the New York Times, you know, they don't like me, I'm their enemy. But to me, like that doesn't matter. That could be true. They could be out to get you. They could hate you. But the question is, did you work for those places?
Yeah.
Do you have degrees from those places? You know, if you don't have that paper, if the answer is no, it doesn't matter what their motivation is. The fact is, you blatantly misrepresented.
And he's not saying, as far as I know, that the stuff is true. Isn't he just saying they have an axe to grind? They're out to get me. I mean, is he saying that, no, hold up, all of the stuff that I said is true? Is he defending that?
The only responses that I've seen is that he's saying that they're out to get me. I haven't seen him say anything else, and there could be some people who've seen other reports, or maybe he said something else. And I know from what I also saw in the news report, even I guess the head of the GOP there in Queens is waiting to hear a response, because they want to know what's going on here. So I don't think it's that like the party's like got his back, like, oh no, it's a big anti-Republican thing. They're like, wait, what's going on here? We want to know what's, you know.
And I've seen guys get arrested and their party still not drop them because they don't want to lose the seat. I don't think he's going anywhere. This is going to come out and then it's going to go away.
Well, yeah, I agree. But if it's a swing district, I mean, it was a Democratic seat and now it's in Republican hands. Will this have any role in the next election? Could this help the Democratic?
Yes, the next election, absolutely.
Yeah.
Could it though? I mean, if he's allowed to stay in the seat and he serves his term in the seat, by the time the next one comes around,
they're not going to remember.
It's not going to be anything. No one's going to care.
Yeah. If the Republican Party doesn't have a viable candidate, they're not going to want to lose the seat. They're going to run them.
Yeah, they won't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the voters won't care. It's not even just the voters won't, because they put him in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a swing voter. That's the thing. And I know people like this. And it's kind of hard for sometimes, like even for me to understand it. But I do know people who will vote Republican and Democrat, go back and forth depending on candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are the ones I think who would be affected by that. Someone whose vote is up in the air. Maybe they voted for him because they didn't know these things. That might change their opinion of him.
I'm a little bit more cynical.
He's gonna be right in that seat.
I'm a little bit more cynical, unfortunately. I think, yeah, if he's allowed to get through, and I think that's the question for me. Like, I would say he should not be allowed to take that seat. There should be something, and apparently this is kind of unprecedented, right? Like this doesn't.
Is it illegal
on this level, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm so tempted to call his lawyer because I know his lawyer. I don't want to put him on the spot though, because he probably won't talk to us about it.
Yeah, he probably won't, but we should try to get him on the show.
Yeah,
great. I mean, you hope that the right thing will be done, but in my years, I've seen worse, and they didn't go anywhere.
From what I understand, there is some people looking into ethics violations for him, and so if that amounts to anything, I don't know. I don't know if there's any rules on the books to be
that's
like.
what I'm saying, right? It's not ethical, so you can start there. How much teeth does that have, though? You know, it's not illegal to tell a lie. It's the remedy is supposed to be that the public finds out about it and doesn't vote for you. It didn't work that way, and right. So now there are questions like, how does it happen? How do we find ourselves in this situation? Should the opposition research have been better? Should they have been screaming about this more all along? I've been involved in campaigns. That's easier said than done, because people will tell you things about your opponent all the time, but they're rumors until they're not.
Right. You're not going to dig deep into every candidate. You're going to focus on, having your candidate win.
That's right. And that's what
you can get very distracted with all of the noise outside. Run your race. Right. Absolutely.
Right. And so not everything you hear is substantiated, and you can't go around saying things that can get you in trouble if they turn out not to be true. And also, you don't want to look like you're just negative and talk about the other person because you got nothing good to say about yourself. So it's a delicate line to walk in these races. And you also don't want to give someone free publicity if you think it's not warranted.
Yeah.
And can the regular person call up Baruch College and be like, hey, can I pull the transcripts of this guy?
No one's doing that for every candidate.
Yeah.
Nobody. They're not doing it.
The question now is like,
I didn't think he was going to win. You said it's a Democratic. They're usually Democratic. They're usually blue.
Yeah.
They didn't even expect him to win.
Right.
So the question is, where do we go from here?
Yeah. Yeah, and what should we do? What can or should be done about this? Should he be allowed to take his seat?
I'm like I said, I'm visiting family right now, spending time with my grandmother, a lot of Westerns on the TV. I think the posse should come in and drag him out, and
People screaming.
shouldn't be allowed to take the seat. But then if he isn't allowed to take the seat, then there's a question of what happens then. How do you fill that seat?
Right. And there's also the possibility of stripping him of committee assignments and things like that. If they really want to go after him or punish him while he is in Congress, unfortunately, with a Republican-led House, you have to question how seriously they're going to go after him.
Right. And see, this is not even a local position. This is a national position. Like you said, there are committees. These are potential committees that could have far-reaching implications. And we've already seen this guy has no ethics or no moral qualms about being completely misrepresentative of who he is and what he says. So that's dangerous to have someone in that position to be that
Is this his
devoid
first
of
time
ethics.
in elected office?
I'm
Did he
sorry?
have any other position before this?
I think he had a failed election before. He didn't win. I don't know much about his background, other than, a lot of people don't know a lot about his background.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
And has this been proven it's false, or is just kind of cloudy?
Well, the New York Times in their research, they contacted Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, and they said, no, we have no record of this guy. Baruch College and New York, NYU said, we have no record of this student here, because he said he had degrees from both of those places. And he said he ran this nonprofit, and tax exempt status nonprofit, and the IRS has no record of that either. So it's all been confirmed that it's not there. He hasn't really spoken to the accusations other to say that the New York Times is out to get me. I'm their enemy or something like that. And so, but again, like I said, there's really there's no room for partisanship here. It's like, do you have the paper or you don't have the paper? Did you work there or you didn't work there? You know what I mean? There's no ambiguity in that.
So why don't we make that the poll question of the week? I'm gonna get people's thoughts on this. The question of the week is, do you believe someone who was caught lying about their background should be allowed to take office, even if they've won an election?
Here's the thing, everyone's gonna say no, because there is no emotion attached to a random person. But when I've seen people, and when they believe in a candidate, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be hard to answer without that attachment.
But that's also why I want to put the question out in that neutral way, because if everyone says no,
and then you're like, so why is it? Yeah.
Right. Then you go like, well, wait a minute, why is he any different?
I hear you.
Should it be, it's if they blatantly lie about it? Because I think everyone's going to be like, well, politicians lie or they fudge the truth all the time. But this guy blatantly lied about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a blatant lie. It's just like so many lies and big lies, right?
I wonder how it started, right? Like he just
first was like,
yep. Like how did it? Like God, it's fine, it's fine. They're not gonna check, it's fine. And then he goes for such a big seat.
I'm saying, if is this what we're doing now? Because I mean, I'm pretty creative with my writing.
That's all you need.
You know what I'm saying? Can I say I have MIT credentials. I took an MIT course on Coursera, and I have a certificate from an MIT course I took. I can put that down.
So there was a question in the chat. It's unethical, but what is the legality? And that's kind of what I was getting at before. It's not illegal to lie. Now, if you would have said maybe he's a lawyer, and there are certain laws like unauthorized practice of the law, or things like that, impersonating a police officer or whatever, right? But just lying about a degree in general, or your back, there's no law saying you can't do that.
No, because you don't need a degree or a specific job to even have the position. So it doesn't make a difference.
It just shows you his ethics.
Yeah.
So it leaves a big gray area in what to do at this point, because there's really nothing that says that we can force him out. Like, yeah. I think the only thing, like you said, like the ethics committee is the first place to start.
Well, who runs the committees now? This is why it's a problem that everything is so hyper partisan, because if you have Republican control of these committees and of the House, it's dubious, right? Unless there's just so much pressure from the public and they're afraid they're going to lose their own seats in their districts, it's dubious as to whether they would actually pursue this. They want to keep that majority. They want to keep their members in there.
Republicans are not going to want to lose that seat. Oh, well, he lied. We're going to tell him what to do anyway. So it doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, they're going to spin it. And I think, again, you brought up the public, Mike. There needs to be public pressure for him to resign. But I don't know how far that'll go. If this guy is already shown who he is morally and ethically, he probably don't care about public pressure.
Yeah. And my sense is, especially this past year, people were not voting for the candidate. They were voting for the party. They're like, we want a Republican in there. We're going to vote Republican for governor straight down. I don't think they even looked at who the candidates were, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the governor's race, right? So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this and this could be dangerous too, because if it stands, and it probably will, I mean, there will be copycats, I'm sure. Like, oh, we can do that. So hey.
Sure, he wasn't the first person to lie at all.
He's the first one that got caught in a big way.
And now when nothing happens, what does that mean?
Right.
Right. Which is why the public has to put the pressure on to the extent possible to make sure something happens, or at least this guy loses if he runs again.
Yeah. It's wow. It's crazy.
Maybe next election.
Yeah, right.
I don't, I agree with Lixa in the chats. I think it was Lixa said people tend to forget. What's news today will be forgotten in 3 years.
Yep. It's gonna be gone. And it's gonna be old news if you try to bring it up. He's been in office and that was 4 years ago. You trying to bring that up now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's going to happen? Is he going to change his website and list his actual credentials? And
now that's a good question. That's a good question. Is he going to keep the lies on there?
Right. Because it could still be a current issue if he's still talking about it. Or even if he runs a new campaign and changes everything, it's like, wait a minute, you ran last time on a completely different background. What's going
on? Yeah, and there's also I can't find the info, but he was, I guess, the unresolved criminal charges in Brazil as well. I think that's something that should.
Well, I guess to protect ourselves, we should say this is all alleged at this point. This was reported. We're saying what was reported.
Right.
We're waiting to see, I guess, what the response is going to be and if they'll get to the bottom of it.
Right, and then I think that's what people are waiting, and even in the report that news report I saw, even the Republican leadership in either New York City or in Queens was also waiting for a response. So it's not really to indicate that there's this big Republican-backed conspiracy here. So it seemed like they were waiting for a response to find out too.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on it and see
now,
wants to do.
If I were in the Republican Party, I would also not want him to take the seat. Now, I understand they want to hold the seat, but there were probably legitimate candidates with legitimate backgrounds in the Republican Party that wanted that seat as well, that came and campaigned with their real information. And so, I'd feel a little salty.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Like I said, we'll see how it plays out and what the people want to do. But speaking of the people, we asked the people last week about whether the Democratic National Convention in 2024 should happen in New York City, because the mayor has been pushing for that. And between Instagram and Facebook on my poll, it was 70% no, 30% yes. I was looking at the responses and kind of peeking at who was voting, trying to see what people's politics were. And it was fascinating to me because it actually seemed like somewhat conservative voters were saying yes for some reason. Of course, I think the big victory for no can be explained by the fact that people on the Democratic side likely want it to be in a swing state or a state that's in play. And you have Republicans who just don't want it in their backyard because they don't want to see a Democratic Party happening around them, right? So they're going to team up on this one and say no overall. But it was 70-30, so 30%, almost a third, wanted to see it in New York.
Yeah, when I ran the clip on YouTube. It did pretty well. It's about 1,300 views on there. We've got some responses. And one echoes what's being said in the chat. No, because of the traffic. That would be a problem.
Mm. It would be good for New York. And I could only imagine, people didn't tell me why they said yes, but I would guess because number one, maybe they want to go, right? And number two, they think it would be good for the city. So yeah, you're gonna see more traffic, but you'll see more activity, more Black businesses potentially being
It brings a
supported.
lot of money to the city.
Right.
That's why I would like to, read more about it. It definitely will help the economy and help the businesses. So I'm down for that.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the mayor's proposed budget cuts. I mean, maybe you won't need so many cuts if you have this boon to the local economy. Not saying that convention is going to save all of New York City's financial woes, but it helps, right? More events like that would help.
Right. Yeah. Strategically, it's not really. I don't think it's a real smart move. Like we spoke about last time, it's probably better in an area that's underserved, that needs that spark that something like that could bring, as far as the national election and getting people fired up.
It's a swing state, right? Even we said Georgia could be a good example.
Georgia would be good.
Georgia should be in play for the Democrats. We won the Senate seats there. We lost in the last presidential race, but it has been won at the presidential level in recent years also. So, I mean, so it's one that could be won.
Yeah. So.
But you got to think about what state has the resource and amenities to really host this.
That's another question also, right? And last week someone asked, would it be at MSG, Barclays Center? Where would you hold it?
Yeah.
You know, we don't have really a mega convention center in New York. Even Javits isn't as big as these mega convention centers that are holding the conferences now.
I do wonder where it would be.
Yeah.
And that's as far as other states too. If we say, okay, not here, somewhere else, who has the infrastructure to host this?
Well, how big? What's the attendance usually at those places? At those 25, 30,000? You know, that's Madison Square Garden.
I guess it would have to be at the Garden. I know half.
Garden is pretty small.
Sounds right.
It's a pretty small venue. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on how they want to do it. Javits Center will be able to hold a lot more people.
Yeah. Just throw up a couple of strings and do it in Central Park. Fine.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think it also comes back to why. And you know what? And I guess it's worth throwing this question out there also. Does the convention really matter in terms of winning an election? Doesn't matter where it is. Because there's an argument, it works on paper, right? Like you hold it in a swing state, you energize more local voters to come out and maybe you'll get a bigger turnout in that state. Is that the case though? Is it going to make a difference in the election? Don't forget, it's months before, not like right before the election.
Right.
I think we're all kind of blue anyway.
Yeah, one of the comments got spoke that saying like, strategically it's probably better for a red state or some purple states.
Yeah, I would say a purple state.
Right, because they said that it would show the DNC's commitment to expanding past coastal elite blue states. And they gave suggestions like North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, or even Ohio. I think Georgia.
I think that's a conventional movement at least.
It Stacey Abrams some help.
But you know what? It would be worthwhile looking at data on this. Looking at just going back in history where the conventions were held.
Where before and how did it help the elections? Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a bounce? Was there an increase in turnout? I mean, you might not immediately be able to find that causation, but has there been a spike? I mean, is there usually a spike in that state? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What is weird?
I should hold it in Florida. Florida needs it.
Florida?
Florida needs it. Right on DeSantis' lawn.
Oh my goodness.
That's what needs.
Yeah, if he's the nominee.
Yeah. Or that's a good question. Should it be held in the home state of whoever the opposition nominee is?
No, they're already going to vote for him.
Yeah, but you're bringing in that extra energy.
They're already gonna vote.
Yeah, I mean,
They're gonna vote
the
for it.
electoral college system, right? So if he loses, someone wins the state, that's it.
If you
Turnout
lose
doesn't
your
matter.
state,
It's it.
doesn't vote
All the
for
votes
you.
goes to that person.
Your own state was like, nah, no way. New York, bring the money here. We got the airport, we got the hotels, we have the food.
And maybe this is a reason to build a big convention center and get the Queens Rail, for example. I mean, let's get some of these infrastructure upgrades that we're looking for.
Sure.
So, all right, well, we don't have a whole lot more time. We wanted to briefly mention the story that you sent me, Jay, about the mayor proposing to cut the budget to the libraries, right?
Right. So apparently, Mayor Adams is want libraries to cut their budgets by 13.6 million by the end of 2023, and another 20.5 million over the next 3 fiscal years. So what do we think about that? Like, that could be devastating for the public, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I think people sometimes mock libraries these days, like, oh, who goes to the library and gets a book anymore? But it serves such a bigger role than that. And it really has adopted, like, you can read the articles, they talk about Wi-Fi and just resources in the community that you sometimes can't get. I mean, a lot of areas of New York City are very underserved. We talk about even, you know, I wrote an article a couple of years ago about that, about how we could use a broadband network throughout the city, because I think it was 35% of households in the city did not have access to affordable, reliable broadband. So libraries really fill that gap for so many people, and cutting them can have disastrous effects, especially in underserved areas.
And after school programs, like, I mean, even since my day, we've been going to the library after school until somebody's home. So we hang out in the library, do a little homework, throw around some books. It's a resource center more than it is, you know, a place to just rent books anymore.
Right.
Absolutely. I think, and it's you know, it's very important to have. It's cutting those budgets. The I guess he was either the head of the library said that, you know, we're already kind of running close to the bone here. That type of cut would really push us over the edge. And I think, you know, losing that resource would be a serious detriment to the community, and to education for the community, especially if we're talking about increasing education, the quality of education, access to education. You know, being able to go to a library and have these resources at your hand is vital.
Yeah, we're talking 13.6 million for the current fiscal year cut, 20.5 million in each of the next 3 fiscal years. So it's significant.
So the question for me is always 2 things. Where cut to go where? And if not cut the library, where to cut? You know, that's not something we have to answer now, but I always want to look that up. Who's going to get that money? And then I can kind of give a better idea. Well, is this what needs to be done? And yeah, that's what I have to look up in order.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? And because if you look at it in the vacuum, it's like, oh, that sounds bad. But what if, I don't know, those cuts are minor compared to what else is being cut, or what's being cut more, what's being cut the least. Do we need to cut all these things? And who's benefiting from it? So
I need to know that. If it's like, well, some other way that it's going to support underserved communities, then okay, well, we have to say, all right, well, maybe the library has to get cut. But it just sounds so terrible about the rest of the story.
In isolation, right?
Yeah.
So this is part of the mayor's plan to curtail city spending, and he's got a name for it. So apparently it's an initiative now. He's just trying to make strategic cuts here.
It said that as far as under the cuts, the Queens Public Library System could lose almost $4 million in city funds. So, you know, it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
So here we go. That's Queens 4 million. New York Public Branch System 5. New York Research Library could lose a 1.
Brooklyn and Queens, I said, right? Could each lose 4 million.
I'm sorry.
It says Brooklyn and Queens could each lose $4 million. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that's rough. But you know, if we're getting savings, what are we doing with it? The New York City budget is supposed to be balanced. So the spending is supposed to correlate with the income, right? The revenues. So what are we doing with the money?
Right. And like Aleeia said, where are the other cuts coming from as well? You know.
Right. You know, I think there have been some mistakes, especially when it came to teachers. We went through that whole fiasco this year in the recent budget where teachers were cut. You had council members who said they were misled and they didn't believe that would be the case, but it happened. And we saw teachers lose their jobs as a result. Litigation followed, and chaos ensued. So we got to be careful with what we're cutting and really try not to do things financially, fiscally, that result in services being lost and vital jobs being lost too.
That's why we need the Democratic National Convention to go to New York. So we can get some bread.
Give us some money.
We need the money. Save the bucks.
I hear you. Well, that almost sounds like the bottom line, Jay.
Or it could be an intro. Let's give her a chance here. So Aleeia, we like to give our guests the last word, and we call it the bottom line. So we'd like you to tell us what the bottom line is. It could be about what we talked here today, what you think in general, anything you think that the bottom line is. So
well, I'm going to bring it back to Black businesses and partnerships, right? So thank you so much for partnering with me here today to bring some light into the Black businesses in Queens and Black businesses really across the nation. So my bottom line is shopping Black helps the economy for everyone. So even if you're not Black, take a look at some Black-owned businesses near you or online or wherever you can find them. But I need people to understand that shopping Black increases the economy for everyone. And that is the bottom line.
I love it. I love it.
There it is.
And that is the coquito.
Hey,
there it is.
That's right.
I made it myself. I'm gonna enjoy it for the holiday.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be reaching out to you to hear some more about it and see what you guys are getting into. So.
Sure. You know, there's only so much you can say or remember or do in a short amount of time. You're like, I'm gonna go back tomorrow. Like, I should have talked about that. Man, why didn't I have my list ready?
Yeah.
But I appreciate any time I'm given to talk about the work that I do that I love. So
we can have you back on as well.
Sure.
Always welcome. So Jay, before we sign off, where can people find us?
You can find me online, BlaQue. You look that up on anywhere, you're gonna find me.
Okay.
Absolutely. I put some of the links in the chat
Yes.
for BlaQue Resource Network. For us, you can get at us on YouTube under Nuance with Mike Scala and Jay Carter, or just look up the handle Nuance Show. And so we take what we talked about here today, place it up on YouTube. Also, if you're into podcasts, the audio goes to all the podcast networks. So it'd be on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all of that stuff. And if you're into Instagram, Nuance Show, stop by, say hello, join up, and answer some of the stuff. So if you want to participate in a discussion or answer some of these questions or leave any more comments, those places are good spots to do it.
Sounds great. Thank you all for joining us. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays to everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye, everyone.